Many thanks for joining us here on GBC News. This is Moomen Tonight. My name is Abdul Hayi Moomen, and tonight we focus on university education. We'll be speaking to a man who has seen it all in education, not just as a student, but also as one who is contributing to university education at the very highest level. He has helped to establish one of the private universities here in the country. We'll talk about that university later on in our conversation, but more importantly, we will focus on these factors that in the last 5 years, more than 50,000 students graduate from various tertiary institutions across the country. And that means that in the last 5 years, we have 50 times 5,000 students who graduate without any hope of being employed, because the figures we have indicate that not up to a quarter of these numbers are employed on a yearly basis. What is the way forward? And the fact that we have more universities such as the Baldwin University coming on board, will it just add to the numbers, or there is something that university education can bring on board to help resolve the issue of unemployment? We'll also spend some time talking about the relationship between industry and academia. I am pleased to introduce to you my guest for tonight. He is Dr. Akwasi Achampong. Dr. Akwasi Achampong is the Chancellor of the Baldwin University College right here in Ghana. Doc, a pleasure to meet you. I'm excited, and I was just telling my friends that your reputation is so huge that when I came and met you for the first time, I was pleasantly surprised to see such a relatively young man. Tell me, what have you been up to over the years?
Oh, well, I may look young, but the numbers and the bones still a different story. I started early. I left Ghana in, I think, September 2000. No, actually, the age is, I left here 2000.
Many years ago.
83. I left the country 83. I finished high school at 83. You know, that's how long it is. So sometimes, you know, when you're getting old, you block certain numbers from your mind. So pardon me for blocking that number. Yes, I left here 83. The age was maybe 20, 21 years old or something. I went to the United States. At that time, my father was there. Ghana was a turning point that every dream of a young man is to go to America or overseas. So I got an opportunity to go there. When I went there, my first degree, but I started as a petrol gas station. We call it gas station there. Here you call it a filling station. I was a filling station attendant, and then went to delivery, you know, of clothes. That decided, no, this is not for me. I have to go to school. So I enrolled myself to to a college there. My first degree was in pharmacy. Became a pharmacist. Worked for a company there for 3 years, and after 3 years, I came to Ghana. Opened up a pharmacy shop. Of course, I lost money, so I went back to US and decided to go to medical school. So I went to medical school, became an internist. Currently, I'm practicing as internist at my own office and also affiliated with other institutions. I'm also adjunct professor at some of the universities in New York that I teach. So education is always been part of me, even though I'm a medical practitioner. You know, so in a nutshell, that's what I've been doing in the US.
And I'm excited that you have tasted both worlds, and I'm talking about here in Ghana and what exists out there in the developed world, such as the US of A. And so you can tell us what your perspective is, and I intend for us later on to focus on the relationship between academia and industry. But the fact that you've brought this up right now, let me find out from you. When you go out there in the developed society, do they place so much emphasis on university education as we do here?
See, my first time I was on campus, I saw something totally different that I never saw in Ghana. I always crack a joke and say, Ghana here, or Africa in nature, we teach people how to ride a bicycle. But when you go to overseas, they teach their children how to make a bicycle. So one is teaching you to make a bicycle, one is teaching you to ride a bicycle, even though they are the same bicycle. So there was a disconnect within our educational system. Because why should you teach me how to ride a bike, whereby the bike is imported outside? And outside too, they don't teach you only how to write it, but how to make it. So my suggestion is that Ghana needs to change. On Africa needs to change our education system. Why are we keep on training people to ride a bike instead of making a bike? That's where the disconnect is here. So I'm glad that currently the government is looking at from a primary school education. And out of that, I think we can change it. Because if you look at our education system, even the masters that gave it to us, the colonial masters, they don't even use them. If you go to Britain, they don't use this curriculum. So our curriculum is not doing us a favor at all. So we need to look at it from a primary level. If you want to solve the disconnect that you're talking about, it has to start from primary school.
No, but this conversation has been going on for several years, to the extent that you recall that we used to have the standard 6, which some of us only can speak of without experience. And then there was the A-level and the O-level system. It was changed. Now we have the WASI and so on. How many times are we going to continue doing this?
No, the issue is we are putting plaster on the wound, not actually taking care or healing the wound. You mentioned by senior secondary school, but the issue is the foundation. It's the primary level. You see, children are trained how to think, how to analyze things at the age of 5, 6, 7. Our society, when a child is asking questions, we ask them to stop asking questions. You ask too many questions, go and play. No, that's the time that they have to develop the analytical thinking faculty. So we don't ask them to ask questions. So we train them to push through the system without asking any questions. I'll give an example. If I'm smart, precisely, if I'm a science student, I've been told to do science. When I finish, you go to medical school. When I finish medical school, they post me somewhere. If they don't post me, I stay there and say there's no job. So there's no thinking in all this aspect. So we need to look at the primary level. What are we training the children? Are we training them to think analytically or just push them through? Once you're able to do that, then secondary and the tertiary will follow. So I think that solving the problem on a secondary level or tertiary level is not the solution. It has to come from the primary level.
But when you returned home to contribute to education,
yes.
And I must also remind my viewers that you are the Chancellor of the Baldwin University College. You didn't do so at the primary level.
Absolutely.
Why not?
The key thing is this. You need to teach people to go and teach. So once you start from primary level, it takes a long time to get up. So in our school, we teach people how to analytical thinking. You have to just don't ask, just don't say things or go with the status quo, ask questions. So when you start doing that, you encourage people to ask questions, which people say, okay, I'm thinking. What are you thinking? What are the pillars of thinking? You have to know, what I call it, what, why, when, where, how. So if you're able to teach them, then they will also go back to teach the people. Now, you also have to understand that the curriculum will not allow you to do certain things because we have been taught by certain curriculums. I cannot change the curriculum. It has to be changed by the Ministry of Education, which I think now they are looking at it carefully because I've spoken to the Deputy Minister on this topic. He's aggressively changing it. So it has to be a policy, which one individual cannot solve that. So yes, I didn't go to the primary level to do that because I don't have the power to do it because it has to be done universally. But the whole idea is that can we also teach people on a higher level? They become the fathers, they become the mothers, they become the uncles. Then they can encourage people at the age of 3, 4, 5 years and start thinking and ask questions. That's how I went straight to the university level. But yet we are still pushing that things must change from the elementary level.
A couple of weeks ago, you were in the news, you and your university, for having graduated 45 or so students. When I saw the news, the first thing that came to my mind was 45 plus 50,000 looking for jobs. Is that what it is? Or do your students come out being able to do something for themselves?
Yes. On campus, we tell students, you don't leave on campus and go look for a job. If you can find it, great. If you can't, you create one. You make one. I went to the United States, nobody gave me a job. I have to create jobs. As I sit here, I have other two companies that I run, that I build from my living room, even though I'm a medical doctor. Right now I have about 150 employees. Okay, nobody gave me that. I created that. So we need to get off the system whereby government must give us a job or we should be offered a job. So we're saying no. After graduation, you need to go to the interlands where the opportunities are there. You need to go to your towns when opportunities are there and create your own job. I'll give you an example. Now, where I came from, Akwasi, there is no medical laboratory there. If you have to go to do medical laboratory, for example, you have to go to Kumasi or Boise. But this is a municipality, about 50,000 who live there. So our students are trained, go into these areas. The opportunities are huge, they are there. So once they're able to go there, you may not need a huge capital. Okay, because if I'm doing HIV testing, if I'm doing malaria testing, I don't need much laboratory. I don't need much capital. So our students are trained. By the way, the first month or two, we are the second month, 80% of our students are already gainfully employed. Why is that? Because we chose a course or where there's a demand, and then we have to go back and look for the opportunity and take advantage of it. So our goal is look for the opportunities, and there are many.
There's a general problem. The Baldwin University College in particular, you focus on medical laboratory science, which for me is a specialization. Many other universities started off that way, and I'll give you a few examples. You go to KNUST. I mean, from the name itself, it's supposed to go into technical education. As we speak, there is a law course at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. You talk about University for Development Studies, for instance. They've started doing courses in humanities, which has nothing to do with, if you like, development. We knew Legon to be the center for the humanities and so on. All universities are appearing to have lost focus. UCC was teaching teachers. Now they have law at the University of Cape Coast. We lost focus along the line. Are you going to lose focus as well?
I don't think the idea is universities lose focus. No, I don't support that. What I do believe is that, see, when KNUST was started or Legon was started, our population was 5 million. Our population was 6 million. Now our population is 30 million. So the population is growing, and we are going to grow. And then the opportunities are also there. The problem that I see is not the course that students are not being gainfully employed, is how equipped our students are. How well are we trained them? Again, we have to think. Unfortunately, today, Ghana, many people you have to think for because we lack the thinking. Can we change it and let them think to look for jobs, to create jobs? The jobs are there. But we want somebody to do it and employ us. I mean, I don't want to make it sound so bad, but imagine we are living in Ghana. Somebody from their country comes here, employ you and I to dig gold for them, and they take the gold out. Now, why can't we buy the machines and dig the gold ourselves? No, we want somebody to employ us. So the issue here is that we need to change the focus. I don't think the universities are putting up people that can find a job. It's just we don't create these jobs to absorb all these students. So no, we're not going to lose focus. We started with medical laboratory. That is not the only thing we are doing. We are allied health and IT. Well, I don't want to use a specialization, but our focus is allied health and technology. So at the moment, we are doing information technology. We're also coming up with health informatics. The question is why? When you go to even Accra here, many hospitals, if you leave Accra, everything is still on paper. Okay? I mean, you have to have files. Some people even take their files home. Now, if somebody moved from his village to another village, information are lost. In my office in New York, I didn't even write a prescription. Everything is sent electronically. So opportunities are there. So let us look at health informatics. We can actually come up with a program that every sector of this country, our medical records are electronics. These are the things that we are looking for. It's a huge market. So our students will be trained, being trained. Let's look at the needed cases and we solve it. We have to become a problem solvers, not just looking for jobs. We need to solve problems. We have so much jobs that are not being created. Let's start thinking differently.
So let me give you an example, Doc. Your university is focused on, at the moment, medical laboratory sciences. But assuming that your students complete their education,
Yes.
and there are no laboratories around, you can only point to a few. Some hospitals don't even have laboratories to work with. Then what becomes of these students?
That's what I'm saying, that we are not training them to go look for jobs. We train them to go create jobs. And I gave example from my town. Why should if I need to check my sugar, why should I come to Kumasi? From Bekwai to Kumasi, the distance, the traffic, but how much does it cost to check your sugar? In Bekwai, you can just get a machine, will not even cost you more than 100 cedis or 200 cedis. Some of them is less than that. So if you think that I'm going to leave Accra and I'm going to make money, no, the money is in the hinterland. Because the person taking a car to Kumasi and come back, the whole day is gone. For a simple test that could have been done right there. If he doesn't go to Kumasi, he go to Obuasi. So all I'm saying is this: there's a lot of jobs, huge market that it doesn't matter how many people we educate them. The demands are huge, more than the people that we educate.
Look, sometimes it's not so much about the lack of the ideas. It's got sometimes to do with the lack of access to finance, to capital. And so your students from Baldwin University College, they have qualified, they know all what they have to do. One decides to go to Bekwai and establish a laboratory there to take care of the needs of the people, but finds out that to establish a laboratory, you need not less than 100,000 Ghana cedis perhaps. And he has not got that money.
I agree 100% if you go that route to say that we have to build a big facility. No, you start slow. In any business, if you talk to anybody who are getting into business, you start slow. Even in Baldwin University, we start with only 8 students at a certificate level. You start slow. We are trained to think big. Yes, think big, but start slow. So I just mentioned, sugar machine doesn't cost much. Typhoid machine won't cost much. So you start from there, and you build gradually. Over the years, you bring the machines that you need. And that's what we need to, because if you sit there, 5 years will come, 10 years will come. But if you start slow, by the time they get to second year, third year, fourth year, you can bring something on it. So I'm not suggesting that we should go big, but everything big starts slow, starts small. Let's start small, and I think you don't need 100,000 Ghana cedis to start. No, you don't. Just get 1 or 2 machines, and then build yourself up.
But so expand the conversation to meet students from other disciplines, not necessarily laboratory, people who have been to school to study the humanities, for instance, and so on. Still, capital becomes a problem. Doc, you have done business in this country. People will tell you that even the tax regime, and I'm not taking you into that sector, but the hurdles are just simply too many.
You see, I've been taught. I met a gentleman, an elderly gentleman in Malawi, 2017, and I had a discussion with him. And I was talking about money, money, money. He said, young man, if you think about money all the time, you won't go anywhere. Think of idea, not money. Once you have an idea, somebody will give you the money to propagate your idea. So let us get out of the money concept. Come up with an idea. I'll give an example. If somebody wants to go to America, you do everything to buy a ticket, to even paying bribes and get them to America. What are you going to do there? Opportunities are here. So once we have an idea, let us work on an idea. So let's put money aside. Because somebody will come or partner with you. So the thinking here should be, what idea do I have? Let's think together. Somebody will bring them. Somebody also have the money sitting there, they have nothing to do with the money. So we have to find a way to merge them. Capital is a huge problem in any country, even including America, even including Europe. It's a huge problem. You go to the bank, you won't get it. A guy like me go to the bank, I remember many times, my office, 10 times I was denying access. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to go for it. I have to start somewhere. And today, I'm not sitting and brag. I don't go to the bank. I called the bank manager, he comes to my office. But beginning, I went there 10 times I was denying. So let us stop thinking about capital. Let's come with idea, and let's start from there and see what happens.
There's also this notion out there, I don't know how true that is, but the fact that, and you talked about the growth in population and the need to accommodate more people who qualify for university education and all that. And that's where people give a thumbs up to private university education for coming on board to give more access to people. But the flip side is that with the coming on board of private universities, quality has declined.
Well, I've done a little studies on this topic. And the Baldwin University College, we are very keen on that. That quality is a thing. And we want to be an Ivy League school. So you need to start slow. I have this concept, start slow, make sure that you don't cut any corners, I don't cut no corners, and make sure that things are done right. Many a times, if somebody comes to university, they are not thinking to lower the quality. No, nobody does that. Besides, it's my investment, it's your investment, you want to protect it. And your name is more important than anything else. So you end up doing the right thing. But sometimes there's a red tape here and there, and sometimes you also have to go back. And most of the time, you also have to check with the regulatory bodies. Example, National Accreditation Board, they are very strict, they are very good at these things. If we are Allied Health, you check with Allied Health. So every time you have opportunity, we go back and check them. So the quality may be decreasing, then we have to find out why the quality is decreasing. That could be institutional base. Okay, and then let us correct the mistakes. Let us correct the issues. At times you think you're doing well, but somebody outside may tell you that what you're doing is wrong. So we need to periodically go back, look back, and see what we're doing. And I think everybody would like to do things. Ghana, those days are gone. That they chew and pour and pass and just forget it's gone. So we need to start thinking, what are we doing? We're providing students that have to compete globally. They're not only competing in my village, they're competing globally.
But the truth also is that for most of you who are into private university education, one of your main aims is to make money. It's not a charity. And so once you want to make money, sometimes quality is compromised.
I do know for sure, I don't know the motive other people do any business, but I can only speak for myself. At the moment we finish graduating students, technically speaking, we have to support the school. So if it was money alone, trust me, I probably would have put my money in the stock market in New York. I make more money. Okay, but the money that we spend here is a lot of money that we put into into education. Even for NAB to even accredit you, you have to have facility, you have to have this, you have to have that. Maybe it took me almost 10 years to get accreditation. That's a lot of money that you put in. So I believe that the initial concept was not to make money. Because anybody go to tertiary institution, it will take years before you can make any money. But sometimes you have to meet your bills. You have to pay your teachers. You have to pay your lecturers. You have to pay electricity. Those things sometimes can come into it. But I believe that looking forward, every university wants to do good, want to do the right thing. Because nobody wants to produce something bad. That I can guarantee you. But there's some errors or mistakes that I think we can correct. And let us look at it individually in the individual institution and correct them. Because they would like to do the best thing. Or the better thing for the institution.
Okay, so let's focus on Baldwin University. Take me through the admission process, because we're talking about quality here. What is the minimum cutoff point? How many students in a class, if you like? What's the student to lecturer ratio, and so on? Because these are the things that contribute to quality.
For Baldwin University, we have a huge faculty, even though our numbers are very small. And sometimes, of course, at the end of the month, when you're paying the salary, you kind of question. Administrative staff alone is about 12. And then we have the teachers, the actual teachers is about 3. We have 27 part-time lecturers because of specialized courses. So you have to come in. So if you take about a small school with 45, you're talking about almost 40 people teaching. That's a lot of money. But we want the experts, so we go for the best, okay, to teach the students, because we want them to come up, to be the best. Now, we are going to expand, as I just said. IT, information, health informatics is coming in. Website design is also coming in. We are looking for a physician assistant program that we're going to do. So we're going to spread, but yet in allied health and IT curriculum. Okay, so the teacher to student ratio is big. We take it very seriously, because I came from, my background is that, because I remember I teach universities, I teach medical schools, and then is the number of students per, and the ratio is keen to us. We are a very small class, and then the teachers are there to assist the students. That is the model that we want to go by, and we're going to stick to it. It's very costly, but I believe we can do it.
Often we talk about quality, and unfortunately, many other people who are unable to afford your kind of fees are cut off from that quality. So even though that student is a bright student, but just the mere fact that the person has no access to adequate finances, they probably are even left out of university.
It is a concern to every university, and it's a concern to us. Okay, Baldwin University College, we looked at it. We have a financial scholarship that we give to such needy students, and we have given a lot of scholarship to them. To our advantage, we have a fundraising in the U.S. I have a 501c3, which the U.S. government allows us to raise funds to support our institution. So that has helped us significantly. If you look at our cost comparatively, in the allied health sector, we are very low, because we do the fundraising to augment what we make. So what we collect from the students is not enough to do anything. And then their foundation also help us. And we are hoping that we will broaden our foundation, our fundraising during the foundation to cut the cost down. Why? I tell you, in Africa, only 7% of people who are qualified to go to university or tertiary institution are able to go. Only 7%. On average, it was 5. Ghana is 7. So that means you leave a huge chunk of people. Cost is a key. So what can we do? We think that foundation that we are raising funds from US is one way to go. I don't have all the answers, but we're looking for opportunities. If you have an endowment, you want to give it to us, you'll be happy to receive it.
I wish. But let's also talk about education at the lower level. I'm talking about senior high school. We have a free senior high school education system now. I'll first of all take your thoughts on free education, but beyond that, I would like you to tell me how this affects you as a chancellor of a university college here in Ghana, to the extent that there are fears that there will be an overflow of students seeking admissions to universities, numbers that universities may not be able to handle when the first batch of students graduate from senior high school. And I'm talking about free senior high school.
Well, from where I'm coming from, I'm going to be a little bit biased. In America, you have free senior high school. Unless you want to take a person to a private institution, everything is free there. Even college level, you have state institutions, you have community institutions that are relatively free. So I'm kind of biased on that. I mean, in other words, I'm in support of that. Why is that? Because a guy like me, for example, I have so many students. I wasn't the brightest kid in my class. I wasn't. But so many people who are brilliant. They couldn't even finish high school. They couldn't even go to college. And when I look back, and I look at these people, wow, these are our engineers, these are our pilots, these are our lawyers, and we just leave them because of funding. It's sad. I think it's a great idea that the current administration brought this free education. You will see the results. Now, in the next 10 years, you have 3 million students that are qualified, finishing secondary education, go to tertiary education. That's a brilliant idea, especially with a double-track system. We're going to have enough students. Because what if we train people, if we educate people, they do better for themselves, but they also think better for themselves. They don't become a burden for themselves. So whoever came up with this idea with the free education double-track is brilliant. For me, it is. In terms of institution, we have to think ahead. We have to think of it in the next 5 years to come, 20 years to come. What are we doing? Or these people are coming in. What are we going to, how are we going to absorb all these people? I think there's a great opportunity to do it. Whether it's a partnership between government and private institutions, or private institutions will partner with the banks, for infrastructure development, okay, or we can have other institutions to look at it to support education. It's a great idea. That also creates a great opportunity for we in the private sector, in the education system, partner with the government or partner with financial institutions and see what we can do. And it is done everywhere. Because if I want to build a school in the US and I don't have it, I go to the bank will help me out. And then we can build a school. But I think it's a great opportunity. We need to educate all our children.
Great. But beyond that, are you, as a chancellor of a university, not worried that you'll be inundated with too many numbers, both at the private universities and the government-owned universities, so much so that, again, we're talking about quality, that quality may be compromised?
Ghana population is 3 million.
30 million.
30 million. US population is about 300 million. How many universities in America? Thousands of them. I don't even know the exact number of it. But they produce quality students. And then they create jobs for them. So it's not the number of students we bring it up. The issue is what job are we preparing for them to take? So we have to look forward. Since independence, how many factories have we built? Now, how many factories are there? What are we doing? Are we 90% of the things goods in Ghana are imported? Now, you have already exported your job. Now, let me say this. Ghana produces gold. We say we are the largest producer of gold in Africa. I mean, in Africa. Yeah. Yet, you cannot even go on the street and buy, jewelries. We go to Dubai and buy jewelries and bring back to Ghana. Dubai too doesn't have gold. So there's disconnect.
Even cocoa.
Thank you. People, when come from America, somebody asked for me to bring him chocolate. But we produce the cocoa. So we have the opportunities. The thinking must change. And it starts from you and I. We have to change our thinking. The jobs are here. We have to create the jobs. And then the school will just feed in to provide these jobs that we need.
So you currently believe that and I believe that by 2020, the first batch of free senior high school beneficiaries would have graduated and making their way into universities. You are confident that these students will be accommodated?
It's a bright day
as we speak, Doc. I don't know the situation at the time you left, but I attended university in Ghana more than 10 years ago, and I can tell you that we had to scramble for space. Yes. That we had students coming from Navrongo to University of Ghana who had no place to lay their heads, we had classrooms, lecture halls filled to capacity. Some students had to stand outside in order to listen to the lecture from inside. That made it practically impossible for some students to study very well. Now the numbers are going to increase, though.
Absolutely. Now, the whole idea is any crisis create opportunities. That's my philosophy. Let's look at the crisis that is being created. Let's look at opportunity within it. Now, we had a crisis because we have students with free education. Then the smart guys sat down and they said, let's have a double track to absorb the time. So in any difficulties, there's opportunity. Now, let's look at the scenario you gave us. When I went to school in the US, because I was working, most of my classes were in the evening. But most schools, when you go to the evening is empty. The classes are usually in the morning. If you go to Legon, 80% of their courses, or UCC, or any other institutions, nights is there. So the idea of they're going to be crowded, let's look at opportunities in it. What can we do to absorb all these students? Because we are still behind. In terms of the graduating schools, we are behind. Even in Africa, we are behind. So we need to catch up. If you think we are black star in Africa, we should be the number one in everything. So I think that the crowdiness that we think we are having it, let's look into it. What are we doing so that we can resolve that issue? And it can be resolved.
What sort of qualifications do your lecturers at Baldwin University College have? Have all these lecturers been accredited by the National Accreditation Board?
We have accreditation from the National Accreditation Board, and our parent institution is UCC, University of Cape Coast. They are very keen on this. So any professor or lecturer, we have to send their credentials to UCC, and UCC will screen them, make sure that they are qualified. And also, they also come and do a spot check and ask for their credentials. So before we ask anybody to teach, we have to satisfy the NAB, National Accreditation Board, and also the UCC. So you cannot just bring anybody from anywhere. No, it's a system that UCC put in place. They are very keen on that because remember, They are affiliated institution. Their certificate that we are using for now, because before we become chartered, they are not willing to compromise. So we cannot also compromise ourselves.
Right, welcome back. This is Moomen Tonight. We were on a short break. And just before we went for the break, just a quick reminder that we've been speaking with Dr. Akwasi Achampong. He is the Chancellor of the Baldwin University College right here in the country, but he also doubles as the chairperson for the Standards Authority in Ghana. Doc, thank you very much. So before we went for the break, I wanted to find out from you the motivation for going into university education. A lot of allegations have been thrown around that many people go into this primarily to make money. What was your motivation?
It's very simple. I have two reasons or two motivation factors that helped me to do this. One was when I was a final year in secondary school at Dumpoase, Dancy, and I remember very well in the physics lab, physics exam, O-levels. That time was O-levels, and we were supposed to do a freezing point, and we had to get the ice, check the freezing point, and use the numbers. So at that time, there's a bridge connecting, Bakwai to Dumpoase, which is at Bujawe. The bridge was broken, so we couldn't connect. They went to Kumasi to get ice cubes for us to do the exam. When you get to our school, all the ice cubes has become, not even ice water, it gets a pure water. And we have to measure it. And we are competing schools like Pempe, Pukuwaris, Adisadals, the same exams we are all doing. Here we don't even have the ice to do it. So you can imagine our science, results, our physics results, it was very bad. So when I went to US, I said no. Because I went to school in different area, I was at a disadvantage. Which means that so many students like me, when you live in interland, they are disadvantaged. So what can we do to bridge the gap? I can't educate everybody, but one kid at a time. So I decided that I have to do better to help. My second reason is that when I become a physician in America, every year I bring doctors and nurses. When I run the whole entire country, giving free services every year, over almost 18 years now. But I see the need in the interlands. The lack of and the opportunities also out there. So I decided that I cannot do it all. So if I cannot do it and I can train 10 people, they will do a better job than me. And the 10 people train another 10 people will do a better job. So to solve, I think the problem is, let me go into education. Besides, it's my passion. Even when I was in pharmacy school, when I was in medical school, I was teaching pharmacology. When I finished my school, I still teach. So teaching has been part of me. Even though I'm a physician, I love to teach. And I think that we need to impact knowledge that we have acquired outside and also give opportunity, to people in this, in this country. And that is what I really wanted to do. Not because I want to go in for money. I would have done better in the US. But I think just giving opportunity to a child, that opportunity that I receive outside, I think we need to extend our hand to other children.
What do you hope to see the Baldwin University College in the next, perhaps, 10 years?
The 10 year, we're supposed to have a full-fledged chartered university with a big campus. I envision it to be an Ivy League. Over the years, Otumfo has been behind it. He actually offered me a land in Ashanti region, 125 acres, to build full-fledged university campus. So that's where we will be, because Accra, Accra is choked. But we need to do better. And then if you want to do anything concerning allied science, we should be the Ivy League school. Number two, we also hope to see that every child that comes from an institution should be able to create jobs, able to employ people. Because that's the way we think we can solve these issues. Because we don't want to depend on the system. The system is choked. But yet, let's unchoke the system and create jobs. And I'm hoping that we will be able to achieve that in the next few years.
And as you grow, do you plan to maintain the same lecturer to student ratio that we spoke about in the beginning of the show?
I hope to maintain it because because I'm a lecturer. Too many students, you lose focus. So yes, I hope to maintain it, and I think we can do it. The other way we can do it is that even if you have 100 students in one class, we can break into half or three times. You don't have to put everybody in give one lecture hall. So I think it's doable, and I believe it's doable.
Yes, university education, is it a must? Must it be a must?
No, not at all. I'll tell you why. Because we have to do, well, let me put it this way. Tertiary education is a must. In the tertiary education, I'm talking about the vocational schools, I'm talking about technical schools, I'm talking about university schools. Every sector has its part to play. Okay, we cannot say we're going to go straight to university alone and leaving the technical schools or the vocational schools. Because guess what? I may be a physician, but I need to wear a nice shirt. Somebody has to make me that shirt. Okay, so every sector is equally important. And I think that we need to look at other aspect of it, especially the middle level. It's very, very crucial. Okay, I may be a pharmacist. I have a pharmacy shop, but the person you meet at the counter has to be educated. The person who dispenses the medication must have an idea. So we need to train all these sectors, just only mom and dad, because my son is my son, he's dispensing medication. No. But we need to look at all the levels. And actually, that's what the government is looking for. And I think we need to spend time to fill all the gap.
Okay, so Doc, you double as the board chair for the Ghana Standards Authority.
Yes.
I mean, for some time in the past, the Standards Authority was in the news for mostly the wrong reasons. Reasons that I'm not in a capacity at the moment to recount all of them, but has been the major change, if you can tell us.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but when we were growing up, every household knew Ghana Standard Board. Everything you do, Ghana Standard Board has to be part of it. Even today, when you say Ghana Authority, they ask you, you mean Ghana Standard Board? So people know Ghana Standard Board, but they don't know Ghana Standard Authority. So I asked my team, what has changed? What made Ghana Standard Authority not be where we are? So when we looked at it, we saw that one reason or the other, the media or the public didn't know us, and we also didn't engage the media, even though the work was being done. So now we decided that no, let the public know us, that we are public servants. We serve the public. Our mandate is to protect the consumer. Are we doing that? If we're not doing that, what can we do? Then we look at our employee. The whole entire nation with 30 million people, we only have less than 300 employees. We can't do anything. Even though by ratio, we should be 3,000 employees. We only have 300. Now we'll be able to increase to 600. That by and by, we should be having at least 1,500. That's the minimum. So that is another factor. The other factor is that there's so many dumping grounds. Ghana became a dumping ground. Anybody say something, they dump in Ghana. So we said, no, we need to look into it. So we look into it, we saw that things coming to the country are not checked. So what can we do? We don't have the staff. Can we check overseas? So now everything that comes in here is being checked. And as you know, the president and the vice president have been working keenly about fast-tracking the port. So what do we do to fast-track the port? That we don't choke the port for all these inspections. So we're saying that before we ship anything, let them check it overseas. When they come here, we get a certificate, off you go. So that we don't have to dump bad goods into the society. So not that I did anything good or the team did anything different. We look at the problems and then we solve the problem. I think once we can identify a problem and we solve the problem, we must move forward. Now, as you ask me the question, let me say this. Ghana stands a chance of losing exporting to UK. Okay, and especially EU. Why? Because the thing that's going to EU, we are not being checked. So we receive a letter and a threat letter from UK and EU that the food and the things we send to Europe are not being checked. They are not being standardized. So that's an opportunity for us to say, you know what, we don't want to lose UK market. If we lose the UK market or EU market, we're going to lose American market. So we're going to standardize every export that goes out of the country. So therefore, when it gets to overseas, they won't reject it. So we are a problem-solving entity today. So we identify problems and we solve the problem. And we think we are doing extremely well on that.
So you're only identifying problems and solving them. You haven't been innovative in any way?
Once you solve problems, you've been innovative. You've been creative. Because how do you solve a problem if you don't be creative? If it's that easy, things would have been solved. And also, we also saw that we were not engaging the media. So we were not even doing what we're supposed to do because of the staff. You know, the market surveillance you've seen, we've been to the filling stations around, you know, that we check the filling stations, make sure that your petrol you're getting from company A is the same as from company B. We engage people, we engage the media. So people now, we are becoming aware of us. So more or less, we are going back as the Ghana Standard Board, what we used to be, as the Ghana Standard Authority, and therefore I think we're doing a great job. And we have to protect the consumer. Remember, our mandate is to protect the consumer. I'll give an example. A guy came in here, I was here, that he bought Chalewate in one of the stores. 2 days, the Chalewate was torn. 2 days. Imagine that. So what do? We cannot allow this thing to happen. And that's what we've been doing so far.
So in a scenario like that, what do? You go in and stop the manufacturer and insist that he meets the minimum standards, or what?
We wouldn't allow you to import into the country. Before you import from wherever you bring it in, it has to be checked. So we check the factory that you are importing, okay, to bring it in. Because once it's in the system, we have to make sure.
I'm curious, Doc, because there have been several, in fact, there are some countries, once you tell somebody that I bought this pen or my phone or my watch from that country, people then know that this is substandard. I mean, there are some countries that are associated with substandard items, and yet we allow them to be imported.
No, I beg to differ. This is what happens. Because I'm also a businessman, I import things. I'll give you an example. I sat in my office in the Bronx, in New York, bought a full furniture, building furniture from one of the countries, from internet. I didn't even go there. The quality they brought to me was perfect. I have no problem with that. Why? Because it was come to America. So American will say, no, I won't even let you bring this in. Now in Ghana here, we don't do that. Or we were not doing that. So anything goes. So if when you go to this country, they ask you, you want African specs or you want American specs? A businessman will say, yeah, African has a matter, so I want African specs. And they will make it for you. So it's cheap. So that's what happens. So once they know that, no, Ghana is different. No, you cannot ship this into Ghana. But no port or anything will allow you, people will set up. So the issue is not bringing in. It's issue, what are we allowing to come in? Yes, simply because people start smuggling things in, or people would, let me tell you what sometimes it happens. They will send a good quality stuff to you for you to test them. You test them once, then they sneak in the bad ones. So now we say, no. Even if we bring it, there's something to test. That's what we do in market surveillance. We will come to the market and make sure what you said you bring in is what you brought in. Okay, because you cannot, I mean, we say we trust, but we verify.
You should be in Bunkpurgu Yonyo, you should be in Wa and in Goropie and in Axim.
Ghana,
in all corners of the country.
Ghana Standard Authority has offices in all of these areas. We never had one at Wa, as you rightfully stated, but we have one now. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The number of the workforce we had was not enough. We need 3,000 to do all the work. We don't have the 3,000, but we are working on it. And I think, yes, we need to be every part of the country. And interesting, let me say something interesting. Every entry port of Ghana, we should be checking them. Because if you block one port, they're going to go to the another port. And there's things we smuggle in. So now, the new approach we're going to do, or we are coming up with, is that we partner with the consumer. We have to be everywhere, but we can't be everywhere, but we must be everywhere. So how do we do that? That's the modality we are coming in. So if you buy something at WA, as well, and doesn't have Ghana Standard Authority label on it. It's a phone call you need to call. Because we are partner with consumers. If you buy something that doesn't have Ghana Standard Authority on it, why buy it? So you also have a say.
And so does this apply to every product? Like of the camera, you were talking to us about kinky and
oh, the kinky theory.
Yes, and I believe watch and the rest of them. Do these laws apply to such businesses as well?
Yes, I call it kinky theory. If you go to buy a kinky from a kinky seller, the same woman, one kinky is heavier than the other one, yet they are all one city. So why should the kinky that I'm buying from you have different weights? It should be the same weight. If one city is one city. So yes, we are worried about filling stations, but we also allowing the kinky seller and the mutual seller to make some small for us and we buy. No, everything has to be measured. I'll give a typical example, and then there's an issue in New Jersey, US, that a guy was advertising for a 12-foot sandwich. Somebody bought it, it was 11.5 sandwich, not 12 foot. So they took them to court, and the person won.
Wow, 11.5.
11.5, it wasn't 12 foot. So you tell me you're advertising for 12 foot, and then I came to board, it was 11.5.
I think we need a whole hour to talk about the Standards Authority. And I wish that you give us that opportunity at the next available time. That
I'm at your service.
Thank you very much, Doc, for speaking with us. We have been speaking with Dr. Akwasi Achampong. Dr. Akwasi Achampong is the Chancellor of the Baldwin University College of Ghana. He's also the board chair of the Ghana Standards Authority. We've been speaking to him on a range of issues, including the quality of university of education. We've also been talking about free senior high school and how important it is, and whether or not universities will be able to handle the pressure when eventually the first batch of free senior high school students do graduate. But we also spent some time talking about the Ghana Standards Authority, where he is board chairman, and he says a lot of transformation is going on currently. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. We'll see you again tomorrow when we bring you another edition. Until then, you have a very good night. Bye-bye.